Yo, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to part 2 to the Spider-Verse story that has been built up over the last few years of Spider-Man fan fictions. If you have not seen the first part already, I suggest you go and watch it. I'll leave a link in the description down below. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well for more fan fictions to come in the future and more series like this. But with that being said, hopefully you all had a happy Christmas, and I hope you all have a good New Year as well. But with that being said, let's get straight into the Spider-Verse part 2. We continue our story in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker is with the Mary Jane of that universe. He is sat there with MJ and they're out on a date. They're discussing the recent events. Only recently has he defeated the Sinister Six and saved the city, but Peter feels like a lot of the Oscorp drama is over now and feels like he can live his life a little bit more. He wants to settle down. On their date, Peter takes MJ to a bridge in Central Park, and we get a shot of a ring that Peter pulls out of his pocket. He gets MJ's attention and he proposes to her. MJ is delighted and she says yes. They share a happy moment. This is the peak of the Amazing Spider-Man character. They look at each other in the eyes and Peter just smiles and tells MJ that she makes him so happy. MJ says the same back, and then Peter's spider sense goes off. He quickly snaps his head into the direction of the alert. MJ asks, "What is it?" And Peter says that something is happening. Peter hadn't felt such a strong disturbance in his spider sense in a while. It's going crazy. A massive portal has opened in the middle of New York City. People screaming left, right, and center, and the sounds of sirens can be heard. Peter looks back at MJ in concern, and MJ tells him to go, and he does swiftly. The Amazing Spider-Man swings through the city as he meets Black Cat on the scene. Our reintroduction to this character is just a funny little interaction as Peter is joking about how Black Cat always ends up there before him. Then a tall grey man exits the portal. He had red eyes and looks menacing. Peter makes a joke about how if anything else goes wrong in New York, he might just move out. Mulan steps out and just stands there menacingly facing Spider-Man and Black Cat. He takes a deep breath in and out through his nose. Mulan says about how this is one of the less polluted Earths he's been to. Peter and Felicia both think, Earths? Peter asks him what he wants here, and Mulan says that he wants Spider-Man. And Peter says that he's right here. Mulan asks just to give himself up as it would be easier for his sake, and Peter says no, and Mulan says that he knew he'd say that. He's just like the rest of them. Brave, but stupid. Peter is so confused, he has no idea what this means by the rest of them. Mulan attacks Spider-Man with Black Cat intervening here and there. A couple of seconds into the battle and Peter is already being pushed to his limits, swinging and dodging. Mulan then grabs him and slams him down, and he says he's done playing, but then Black Cat kicks him across the face. This doesn't hurt Mulan but puts him off, allowing Peter to swing away. Mulan grabs Peter by the foot, but then Black Cat grabs Mulan's foot while he's distracted, and he lets go of Peter. Spider-Man web zips away but falls down slightly injured. Mulan slaps Black Cat across the street and says she's starting to get on his nerves. He walks over to her and Peter stands up and starts running towards Mulan. Mulan says he didn't want to have to do this. Black Cat is bleeding and is very hurt. He picks up Black Cat by the throat and tells Spider-Man to stop in his tracks. He says it's either him or Felicia. Peter stops. He tells him to put her down. Mulan says only if you turn yourself into me, and Peter agrees. Felicia begs Peter not to do this. Then Mulan lets Black Cat go as he approaches Peter. His footsteps stomp towards him as Peter kneels on the ground. Mulan is inches from Peter, but just before he can lay a finger on him, another portal opens in front of them, and Miles Morales and Mayday Parker both come charging out of it, swinging and kicking Mulan straight in the face. Mulan growls as Peter webs onto Felicia and pulls her towards him as they swing off. Peter drops Felicia off at a safe place, but she is really hurt. He then swings back into action to help Spider-Girl and Miles. The three of them manage to knock Mulan down momentarily before Miles shouts for Peter to come with them, and Peter is so confused at first, but then as Mulan tries to spare Peter, he jumps through the portal just in time to escape him. The portal closes and Mulan thuds to the middle of the street. He stands up and brushes himself down as people start cowering from him. He says to himself that he never has had a Spider-Man or woman ever escape his grasp until now. Mulan realizes what's going on. He doesn't leave straight away, but reflects on the situation. He comes to the realization that some of the remaining Spider-Men and women across the multiverse have banded together as they clearly know that Mulan is almost certainly present. He breathes heavily as a sheer moment of anger, but fear can be sensed within Mulan. He knows that these are the most powerful totems in the multiverse, and he knows that in numbers, they can be strong. We cut back to Madam Web's Earth, where Andrews, Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Mayday Parker appear. Miles and Mayday land, and Andrew falls over and is freaking out, saying that he's never experienced anything like this. He says that he's literally just proposed to Mary Jane. He can't leave her there with that monster. Madam Web tells Andrew to calm down and that Mary Jane will be fine. Mulan isn't after her. Peter will ask, what is Mulan after? Webb will explain the entire situation again, but this time to Andrew, and that they need all the help that they can get to stop Mulan once and for all. Because if they don't, the entire multiverse will be in hell. We cut over to Miles, who looks up at Andrew. He couldn't believe it. It's Peter Parker, the man who sacrificed himself for him, for the entire city. It's actually Peter Parker. Well, a different version of him, but he was standing right there. Miles stays quiet, and you can tell he's upset by this. He moves to one side, and Mayday goes over to him asking if he's alright. Miles says about how Peter Parker on his Earth died, and it's weird seeing him again. Mayday reminds Miles that that was her dad. She kind of chuckles it off. Miles apologizes, and Mayday says that it's fine, she never really knew him since he died before she was born. Miles says that he shouldn't really be talking to her because he knows it could affect the timeline on their Earth, but he needs to know one thing. Mayday says, what's that? And Miles asks what happens to him in the future. The cop that he met when he went to 2032 said he wasn't there anymore, and Mayday never mentioned him either when they showed up. Mayday's face goes blank. Miles can tell something's up. He asks again, where was I? Mayday responds. She says that one day, he just simply vanished. She says that MJ always had the intention of raising her with Miles as this uncle figure in her life. And then in his early career, he just stopped being Spider-Man and then disappeared altogether. Miles is confused. Mayday says that's from what MJ told her. The Miles that she knew would never do that. It must have taken something really disturbing to stop Miles Morales from being Spider-Man. And that's when it clicks for Miles. The Spider-Verse. This is the biggest challenge he will ever face. Something happens in this event that changes him. An ominous feeling arises within Miles. Spine-chilling thoughts run through his head. This then ties into Miles' arc for the Spider-Verse, as he doesn't know if he can step up to the big challenge, and it'll be a real test of character. This will push him. This will be the point at which he switches, and the point at which he is determined. He won't let the pressure get to him, and he will save the multiverse. Andrew comes over to him and says that Madam Web told him what happened to his Earth's Peter Parker, and says that he's sorry about that. Miles says thanks. Mayday also has a moment as she admires Peter. Andrew asks, who are you then? A female version of me? Mayday says no. She's his daughter with Mary Jane. Andrew's eyes widen as we get a funny scene where Andrew is shocked that he has kids. Then all of a sudden Madam Web can be seen to get weaker. As all the spider people catch up, they look over. They go over to her and asks what's wrong. She says that another totem is gone. He's moving quicker than ever, and they must act quickly if they are to survive and save the multiverse. Andrew says that if you send him back to his Earth, he can go and get reinforcements there too. Madam Web agrees and says all the help you can get. Web says that Miles and Mayday will go to another Earth and ask for that Spider-Person's help as well. Web sends Andrew back to his Earth, and they disappear off to another one. We cut to Mulan as he sucks the life force from another Spider-Man of another Earth. He utters that he can't wait to feast on all these life forces. Mulan is collecting them. He is waiting for the big feast. Mulan is then contacted by someone. He answers on a hologram. The man on the other end speaks almost like he's Mulan's superior. It turns out that this is his father. This will also be another scene of exposition like in the first part, but this scene will start to show more of a human side to Mulan. On Earth Zero, one of the previous Master Weavers placed a curse on Mulan and his family due to some conflict that past generations of that family and the previous Master Weaver had before in the past. It's a curse that cannot be lifted, even by current Master Weavers. And Master Weaver, by the way, is the title-born entity in charge of weaving and maintaining the web of life and destiny. In this multiverse, the Master Weaver can change at any point. Any Spider-Person with any Spider Totem can become the Master Weaver. And after asking many a times, the current Master Weaver Khan will not lift the curse from Mulan's family. He said he will not intervene with this debacle, even though Mulan has begged him on multiple occasions. So then Mulan resorted to the only thing he could do, which was to hunt the most powerful totems in the multiverse, which was obviously the Spider Totems. Mulan was only a child when this curse was placed in the past. It's a curse that slowly drains the life forces until they eventually die. So Mulan grew up wanting to change this. He wanted his family to live happy lives. So he collects those spider totems so him and his family can feed and be healthy enough to live full lives. Mulan is driven by family. He does not like to kill. He is genuinely a good person, but family comes first. He'd do anything for them. His father will ask him where he is, and we can see that Mulan's father is on his last legs. Mulan says that his mission is almost complete. His father says that he better be back soon. Mulan says that he will, and he will save them all. We cut to Andrew's Earth as we catch up with him. He goes back and checks in with MJ as she hugs him. MJ asks if Peter is alright, and Peter says he is, but the multiverse isn't. MJ asks, what? And Peter says that him and Felicia need to leave for a while. They need to go and help the other Spider-Men and women to save the multiverse. There is someone killing Spider-Men and women from different universes, and they need his help. MJ laughs at first. She doesn't believe what she's hearing, but then she can tell that Peter is being serious. MJ then says that she believes him, but he's got to be careful out there. They hug and kiss one last time, and then Andrew's Peter Parker, the amazing Spider-Man, swings away. We then get a scene where Peter meets with Felicia, who is recovering. Her fight with Mulan did a number on her. Peter says that he needs her help, and Felicia jokes back saying that when don't you? Peter says that he knows she's hurt, but wouldn't be asking if it wasn't serious. Felicia says that she wouldn't let him go alone anyway. They both smile at each other, and they leave through a portal that Madam Web has set up to the next Spider-Man's Earth.